A midlife crisis is more than just a cultural stereotype. It's a real psychological struggle that can surface between the ages of 40 and 60. Often triggered by aging, loss, or unmet expectations, it can actually lead individuals to question their identity, make impulsive choices, or abruptly abandon long term commitments. While not officially classified yet as a mental illness, the emotional and relational fallout is very real, especially for the spouses and families left behind. This podcast gives voice to those living through the aftermath, exposing the hidden pain, and seeking accountability, healing, and understanding. Thank you for joining us today on MLC Bomb Drop and Beyond. The stories and events discussed in this podcast are for informational and entertainment purposes only and should not be considered legal, medical, or professional advice. Any names, locations, or identifying details have been changed to protect privacy. Any similarities to actual persons, living or dead, or real events are purely coincidental. The information presented on this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered as professional advice. Always consult with a qualified expert regarding any decisions related to your specific situation. The views expressed by guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions of the host or the podcast creators. All right. Hi, everybody. Today we are meeting with Karen in Europe. She's overseas and we're going to hear her story. So, hi, Karen. Thank you so much for joining us today. I want to see if you could just take us back to the moment when things started to feel different. Tell us about that and how long you guys have been married. We'll start with that.
Well, we met in 2001, and it was at a New Year's party, and I saw him entering the bar where I was celebrating New Year's Eve, and he immediately catch my eye, to be honest. So we got into a conversation, and he decided to stay over at my place because I live nearby. And for me, it was sort of love at first sight. So the next morning, he said, "Well, I have a problem because I live abroad." So I said, "Well, then we are not going to have a relationship because, I cannot cope with that." And he understood. So he left. He was only in for the month December to celebrate Christmas and New Year's Eve with his family. And yeah, that was it. And I think about 6 or 7 months later, the doorbell rang and I opened the door and he was there. And he had a big bunch of red roses with him. And he said, "Well, I was in the neighborhood and I thought to myself, let's pay her a visit." Well, I said, "Be welcome." He said, "I'm not going to go back abroad." So then I told him to stay permanently. And he actually moved in quite fast. Um, no, in 2003, we bought ourselves the house I still live in. And we were very happy to live there. Unfortunately, his dad, so my father-in-law, promised us to help us out with all these things that had to happen in the, painting and everything. And he was late for our appointment. We had the key, I think, 10 o'clock in the morning, and he promised to be around, yeah, mid-hour. And then finally the doorbell rang, and my husband got up and opened the front door, and the police. And I'm sorry for the dog.
It's okay.
There was no father-in-law or father in case of my husband, but there was police standing in front of the door. And yeah,
Let me roll back. Is this in 2003?
yeah, yep. And
In 2003. Okay.
yeah, and I mentioned this because looking back, I think this was one of the first things that he really didn't process, if you know what I mean. He never got over that. So yeah, they asked us to come along and identify the body because my father-in-law had had a very severe accident and did not survive. So that was not such a beautiful start from the moment we started living here. Well, in 2005, we got married. In 2007, our son was born. And so far, so good. And in 2018, the end of 2018, a friend of his died from kidney cancer. And yeah, that really hit hard. He had a very difficult time getting through saying goodbyes and coping with the loss. And he started acting different. And then finally, we had issues about the intimacy that actually dropped. And I asked him several times, is it me? Don't you find me attractive anymore? Is it something else? And he kept on saying, oh, it's me. I don't know why, but it's me. It's not you. It has nothing to do with you. And then finally, I think in May 2020, he sat me down and he said, I'm leaving. And I said, well, where are you going? Yeah, I need a week to gather my thoughts. I don't know what I want anymore. He started talking about starting a hotel in Portugal. He was talking about starting a school for winter sports in the Czech Republic. He wanted to sell his company. He was all over the place. And he made me promise to leave him alone for a week. He was visiting some kind of small house, and he wanted completely to be left alone. He had to gather his thoughts. He wanted to be by himself. So I promised him, and he left. Unfortunately, he was supposed to be off. We had our first COVID hit, and we had to be in quarantine. So he had to return early, and he never spoke about it again. But he was different, he was physically he was there, but mentally he wasn't. He has a company abroad, and it was already, yeah, not so very good results in front of the first quarantine COVID period. But during COVID, it went down all the way, and he couldn't visit it. So he was here looking at the results of his company abroad, and he couldn't do anything about it. So that really got to him. And the first moment he was actually able to pick a plane, pick a flight, and visit his company, he did. And that was in December 2022. No, December 2021. And he sent me text messages that he was happy to be there, and he could cut costs and, make changes, and everything would be all right. And he was very happy, and he was very glad that he did not sell the company and that he did not do any radical changes. So it all sounds perfect. He sent me love poems. He came back and had bought my favorite perfumes and gifts and everything. And he was really, really happy. So I thought to myself, okay, the crisis is, it's done, and we're back on the roads. We're now going up with our relationship. And we had Father's Day in June, and we had a very lovely weekend. It was beautiful. I turned 50, and he had me made a ring especially for me with my favorite stone in it. Very, very lovely. He has thrown me a big party. It was incredible. We had an appointment with a builder, a constructor here in our house, because we wanted to build a front porch on the house. So I was actually thinking, we're on our way up. The problems are gone. Now we can actually enjoy life again. And then on a Monday morning, he was sitting at the breakfast table and, not eating. And I asked him, are you okay? Are you not hungry? Are you not feeling okay? And he said, I don't know. I don't know. And he got up very suddenly, pulled his chair back and said, I'm leaving. And I looked at him and I said, you're leaving? Yes. So where are you going? I don't know, but I'm leaving. And he went upstairs, got himself some trunks and computer and some socks and put it in the bag and he left. And from that moment on, it's been hell. I found out that he had a very traumatic childhood, which I was not aware of. Um, there was abuse. Now, there are a lot of things that I actually heard about in the last couple of years where I was not aware of until then. Of course, there is a third party. She is a little bit younger, not that much, a couple of years. And yeah, he is really in love with her, he says. And she is actually, I think, a fraud because she says that she's a psychotherapist, but she has no registrations, no diplomas. She says on social media that she actually hands out free um, therapy because she knows how it is to mutilate yourself, be depressed, have suicide thoughts. And she actually had my husband on a free therapy session. Well, he is, all in. So that's about, yeah, a small part of it. And yeah, he also, just like you told me earlier, he's also in the fog. He makes very strange decisions. He wanted to start kind of a subsidiary from his own company. He bought himself, some kind of a workshop house with living on top. Invested a whole lot of money to adjust it and to make everything prepared for the things he wanted. And when that was done, he had himself made a website, packaging, advertising. He actually hired his nephew to do some jobs. And then finally, when everything was done, he told me, "Oh, I think I forgot to ask a permit to have this company here from the government." And yeah, he asked for the permit and it was declined. So he lives above a workspace where he actually is not able to live, confirm the standards here. And he has to have a company there, but he cannot do the company there because he has no permit. So these are also very questionable things he does, decisions he makes, which I am sure that he would not have done that this way earlier. And I think that's also the fog we are talking about, the strange things they do, memory loss, all that kinds of stuff, and being a real pain in the ass, to be honest. He's a real monster to me.
Karen, did this you mentioned May 2020,
Yeah.
things were going okay. At what point did this, what year did he, say at the breakfast table that he's leaving? Was that also in 2020?
No, that was June 2022.
Oh, June of 2022. Okay.
Yeah. So
All
it's
right.
in between their
Wow.
2 years, I think. And
Yep.
yeah, that went up and down. We had periods where he was actually very okay, very nice, very thoughtful. But there were also times when he was very withdrawn and very, yeah, like I told you, that he suddenly got up and said that he wanted to start an hotel in Portugal, sell his company. He bought himself a BMW, a canoe, a mountain bike, a motorbike, fishing gear. He was visiting the gym almost daily. He started running. He bought himself a mountain bike, a race bike, a Rolex watch, a drums also. So he kept on, spending money on, yeah, a lot of things. And he left everything here. I mean, he took his car, of course, and he came to pick up his motorbike a couple of months ago. But for the other things, his bikes are still here. His canoe is still here. His fishing gear is still here. Almost all his clothes are still here. His photos, a lot of personal stuff. He hardly took anything with him.
Isn't that crazy? That's the same in my situation.
Yeah, I hear that from a lot of women because, at first I thought to myself, oh, he's going to pick this up. I mean, he cannot just leave it here. And a couple of months ago, I wrapped up a lot of stuff, clothes, in bags, and I asked him to pick it up. And he said, I'm not going to enter the house, just throw it away. But I couldn't because, it's expensive clothes, it's suits, expensive shoes, and all that kind of stuff. And I feel it's, a waste to just throw it into the bin.
When this was starting to go down like that kind of behavior, did you know about midlife crisis, or what were you thinking was going on?
No, he was, when he left in 2022, he still wanted to have a family holiday together. We have an RV. And that was, he was adamant. We had to go on holiday together. And he wanted the dog. The dog also goes with him everywhere. And so we decided to have a normal family holiday with the RV and the dog. And but then again, he was physically there, but mentally he was absent all the time. And he was, blaming me for suffocating him, calling me a leech and a constrictor and all these kinds of nice remarks, if you know what I mean. And at that moment, he was every morning he was leaving, he was, out biking, mountain bike, and doing his stuff, not taking into account that he had brought his son, his dog, and his wife with him. And one time I was just sitting there and I was, all these things he used, all the words and remarks he made, I put him into the computer. And then there was this remarkable sign popping up. It might be a midlife crisis. And this article, I read it from bottom to top and from top to bottom. And the more I read about the phenomenon midlife crisis, it was actually so clear for me that this was happening. And there was this, summary of things that, can actually mention and see people who are dealing with midlife crisis. And I screenshot it and sent it to him. And I said, I think this is happening to you. What do you think? Can you read this summary and think and tell me what you think? And he did not respond. And I think I took about 2 days and I asked him, well, have you read the summary? What do you think? I mean, this is, this must be it. And the only remark he put me back to, he said, well, I went on having a drink on the terrace with our son, and we looked through all the points that you sent me, and we both are convinced that I'm not suffering from midlife crisis. And he wouldn't hear about it. It was not true. There was nothing wrong with him. It was all me.
Which actually,
Yep,
Karen, is another symptom of midlife crisis. Refusal to acknowledge. Yeah. And how about your son? Did he notice the changes in his dad? The
absolutely. Yeah,
fogginess, not connecting?
right,
Because your son was about
right.
15 or
Well,
so, right,
I must
on
be
that trip?
honest. My husband has been a very good husband and an excellent dad through, yeah, for years. And of course, my son can actually notice that this has turned into a whole different dad. My son just turned 18, so now he is free to spend his time where he wants, whenever he wants. And but there has been quite some incidents where what would not have happened if his dad was still his dad like he used to have him. For instance, when he left, there were a couple of months where he did not even ask about his son, and I said to him, "Don't you want to see your son?" And he said, "Well, I have him on Instagram. That's enough." And then finally, we got to a point that he wanted his son to visit him and stay over for a night. But they hadn't seen each other for, yeah, about I think 2 months or something like that. So my son was a little bit nervous, and he packed his stuff and went by bike to visit him. And he rang the doorbell, and there was nobody home. So when I got home from my work, my son was sitting on the couch, and I said to him, I said, "You are going to stay over with your dad, right?" "Yeah, yeah, yeah, I know, but there's nobody home." And then afterwards, we we discovered that he was actually having a weekend in Barcelona with his new girlfriend. And I forgot to mention that, yeah, that he wasn't home. So my son was nervous visiting him for the first time in a lot of weeks, and he just went off with his girlfriend. Yeah. So these kinds of stuff, and fighting, not physically, of course, but arguments that wouldn't have happened when he was not in crisis. There is really a lot happens, and I think that yeah, my son is definitely seeing the effects. Absolutely, absolutely. Yep.
Oh, so sorry that it's so rough. It's rough on everybody. Um, has your husband, you guys have been separated then
Well,
since
he
June of
actually,
2022. Has he filed
when
for
he
divorce or,
met
have
the
you guys either of
OW,
you filed for divorce
he
or
said, "I have met somebody, and she is, yeah, she's making me happy, and she loves me, and she puts me on a pedestal, and yeah, and now I want a divorce." And I said, "Well, I don't want a divorce, and so we have a problem here." And then he just stopped paying for everything. And because he did that, I think it took me a couple of months, and then I got into financial trouble. And I had to, yeah, put him in front of a judge to have temporary child support and partner support. And now he says to me that I am the one filing for divorce because he didn't. But I had no choice anymore. So yeah, we're in the middle of divorce, and it's really ugly. Yep, very much so. Yeah, he had a very
and he is
severe
still
replay
in the thick of the tunnel,
period
it sounds like.
where she actually puts on a lot of photos and small films that they made, and yeah, it's horrible to see. He, yeah, I know. He with flowers and see them dancing very erotically on a dance floor during a New Year's party. Yeah, it's horrible to see. But, you know, I don't know whether she is still in the picture. My mother in law died in July last, and I wasn't invited for the funeral. And that really hurt me because, she was my mother in law for over 20 years. And I decided to be very uh, um, stupid, maybe, but to just visit the funeral. I wasn't invited, but I went because I felt like it was the only thing that was left for me to do to pay my respects. And yeah, he actually put her next to his name on on the card, and she was there as well, supporting him in all the grief they had, and she was with the family, and I was just sitting in the back of the church, not wanting to be in front, but that was very painful. Yep. Yeah, he was actually in front of the coffin when they brought it
I
in,
bet.
and
Can
he actually
imagine. And your
was
son was there too.
with my husband during the whole process of the last few days that my mother-in-law was alive, and sometimes he was very kind, taking some pictures and keeping me informed of what happened. But yeah. And so on the cards there was my husband's name next to her name, and our son's name below that next to her daughter's name. Yeah, I'm laughing about it, but it's not funny. Yeah, she has a daughter from an earlier marriage. Yeah.
Wait, her daughter's name and her daughter's name, they're not even
Well,
married or
I wasn't
anything,
expecting my name to be
and
on the cards, but
who knows if
I
she
was
knew the
actually
wow.
expecting
I'm
to
sorry,
have
that's horrible.
my husband's name next to our son's name, and that was it.
Mhm.
But that was not enough, I guess. Yep.
Yeah, wow. Do you have friends or, family members that have talked to
Well,
you about the situation
unfortunately,
of
I must
what they
say
think
that
he's going through
I
and
was
the
18
kind
years
of
old, and then
what
my
they
mom
see
died
if his character has
of
changed?
leukemia. And I was 38 years old, and my dad died of leukemia. I have no brothers, no sisters, no nephews, no nieces, nothing. I have an uncle and an aunt, but they don't have any children, and they live a very, yeah, lovely life together. But going on trips, and they have a boat, and they are during the whole summer holidays. They are on the boat away, enjoying life, and they should do that. Don't get me wrong. But for me, my own family, I have nothing. I have my son. And I was actually having a very good relationship with my family-in-law. But yeah, that's troublesome at the moment. And they tell everybody, blood is thicker than water. Well, it is. Yep.
Right. Oh, Karen, if you could describe the person you were you know, before May, well, I guess June of 2022, to now, like, um, before everything changed, who do you feel
Um,
how do you think you've
well,
changed? Like, who are you now?
when he
And how would
first
you compare those
left, and
before
when I
bomb drop
did
to
not
after
read
bomb
all the
drop?
information that's available about midlife crisis, the only thing I thought to myself, well, he will be back. You know, just leave him. He was complaining about the fact that it was, foggy in his head, and he couldn't sleep, and he had terrible nightmares. And I was just thinking, just leave him for a while, leave him be, and, we'll get through this. But it turned worse and worse and worse. And finally, I was tipped by a friend. She said, you should look on this and this dating app. And I did, and there he was. And I confronted him with it. I said, "What the is this?" He actually said that he was not married on the site and that he had no children and wasn't interested in getting any more children. And yep. And when I asked him why, yeah, I mean, he's still
Oh my
married. At
god,
the moment,
that
he
must
still
have been a
is, and this is
shocker to see. He just took on
yes,
a totally
yes.
new identity.
And
Did he even
the
use his
only answer
did he
I
use
got
his
from
real
him
name on
was,
the
"I'm
dating site?
entitled to my happiness right now, and that's why I do it. I want to." explore the world and see what's left for me out there that I have not been able to be happy about in my family. And he was completely convinced of the fact that he was entitled to this.
Mhm.
Yeah. But it's still, I think that's, a lot of women or men maybe
He's
that
a totally
have
textbook
been
MLC.
left for this kind
Textbook.
of BS all ask themselves the question so now and then, is this MLC or is he just really fed up? Because that's, sometimes I also think that because we have this knowledge of midlife crisis, and like I told you in advance, I have read a lot of books, a lot of lecture, and yeah, that it's also prevents me from moving on, if you know what I mean. I mean, I keep on um, hoping for the fact that he will return, and because it's midlife crisis, and he has to be out of this tunnel somewhere. And yeah, I know. For me, it's really hard to understand that
Mhm.
this man
But
that
he's
I'm
only
dealing with
3
now,
years in.
really
I
the
mean, it could be
same man
another
I
it
was
could be
married
another
to
3
for over
years or
20
more.
years. Because the man I was married to for over 20 years was, started very good. And he had uh, empathy. He was,
I know.
really cheerful. I sent him a film I made a couple of years ago where he was actually doing a very funny dance in the kitchen and picking up the dog and laughing and making really funny moves, singing on the song of ABBA. And when he just turns so strange, I sent him this movie and I added, "Has anybody seen this man? And if you have seen this man, please call me because I'm looking for him." And he never responded. Nothing. Uh, And if you ask me how I explain, how can this happen? How can the man
Yeah,
I love
it's
so
heartbreaking.
dearly transform into a very narcissistic, selfish person? Me, of course, I mean, if you get married a long time, things change. And of course, everybody has their, irritations, things that bother you. Of course, I mean, if you are together for such a long period of time, it's not the same when you just were married and everything was
I know.
cheerful and there were no kids and no mortgage payments and everything. Of course. And I understand. And that feelings may change during these years, of course. But if that's the point that, he doesn't just love me anymore and he's done, well, I mean, I sued him for temporary support. I keep on getting messages from him that, yeah, it might not concern you and you probably don't care, but, I have to pay one fourth of my income on temporary support. And yeah, he feels very sad for us. He's very um, angry that he has to pay, and it's all my fault, and it's not fair. And I told him, yeah, you have to pay temporary support, and you could have prevented that by just not leaving. You checked out on me. I have not sent you away. I have not taken keys or asked you to leave. No. Now the fact that you left, picked up the keys, and got it to the car and started living somewhere else or with somebody else, that's your decision, not mine. And
Hey, guys, we had a little technical difficulty here, with Kieran's, recording, and, so now we're gonna jump into the section where she talks about how, sadly, she's lost a lot of friends, because after 2, almost 3 years now, people are like, "You should start dating, you just need to move on," and they just don't understand that a midlife crisis discard is completely different from a normal divorce. So we're going to jump into that section. And I apologize in advance for any technical difficulties, but I'm trying to edit them out as much as possible. All right, here we go.
You should start dating someone else, invite a man to your bed, even if it's only for one night. And I lost friends because they uh, cannot deal with the fact anymore that I'm in their opinion, not moving on, not having a new relationship. And I think that they tell me that because they care about me and they see that I'm struggling and that I'm, still sad about the fact that I've lost my marriage in, such a horrible way. But I also tell them that I understand that they tell me that, but if there is an opportunity for me to get the man back that I have been in love with so long and still do, that is my decision, and they can think about it whatever they want. They can tell me that I'm stupid and I do not respect myself for taking him back if there's any opportunity for that. But then I tell them, yeah, you may think that and you may have your decision and your meaning, and that's okay. But if I ever get the opportunity to choose that and he is out of the tunnel and he actually wants to talk to me, then it's my life and my decision to take him back or not. And that's not theirs. My son said to this friend, he said, yeah, but mom, of course he left you, but he left me as well. And I'm hurt as well. And I said, yeah, I said, you're absolutely right. But um, you never want to talk about it. So that is why at this moment, I am just speaking from my point of view. And you are absolutely right. He has done, yeah, stupid things and has been very, uh, yeah, angry at times with my son, which I think is not okay. It's in a way that's not okay. And at this moment, my son starts telling about the fact that, he actually saw his dad change and that he was very upset of the fact that, he wanted to leave and start a hotel in Portugal and school in Czech Republic. And so, yeah, he does see the changes. Absolutely. Yep. And he also says, my dad does things for the OW that he doesn't even do for me. Yeah. And my son tells me, he says, Mom, he is not coming back. Let it go. He's not coming back. He's not going to do that. And if he does, then I would not understand if you take him back the way he treats you. You have to have some
So,
self-respect.
um,
No, he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to. I mean, I have tried to offer him all kinds of support. We actually have a specialized platform which you can use online or by phone or visit some meetings.
wow,
That's
no cost at all.
yeah, it's a bit stretched. Yeah,
Um, um, any advice for
they
somebody
always
just
sacrifice
fresh out of a bomb drop through
to
it
ask
again?
him to return or reconsider or all these kinds of stuff. And I think every woman does it, and I did it as well. In fact, it doesn't mean anything. I think the OW looking at social media. But all these women that told me that I had to do these things, they were right. So if people tell you to, just leave him be, don't beg, don't tell him that you
Yeah.
think he's in midlife crisis. No, don't do it. No. And educate yourself. That's really important, I think. Yep. But to be honest, I still make mistakes. I mean, if I see him with the OW, which I have only once, that I am actually able to, slap her in the face. Yeah, that's why I actually went away. I left the funeral service before they could actually pay their condolences because I refused to get in line, pay my respects to the family with her in between. I I wasn't able to do that. No. I mean, I saw myself as being a very good daughter in law, and I really loved my mother-in-law. And I was thinking to myself, I'm not going to stand in line to pay respect to a woman my husband just knows about, I think, a year or so. Uh,
Absolutely.
and pay my respects when I actually think that I was the one that had to be in line. I mean, we were still married. I I knew my mother-in-law for 24 years. I looked after her. I helped her cook. And I'm not going to pay my respects to a woman who just. So yeah, and I still have my moments where I'm very sad, and I still cannot comprehend that people can change so dramatically. It would have been nice if he just was
Mhm.
done with the marriage, that he would actually arrange for a good proposition to make sure that we are left behind good. But I think men in midlife crisis don't do that. Yeah, I hope the Dutch women are really. Yep, and still I have my doubts on now and then. Stupid, isn't it?
It's all about the discard
Yep,
and, rewriting history, forgetting everything of the past. Oh, yeah, it's horrendous. It
yep,
really is. And I'm so sorry you've gone through this and are going through it, and you're about 3 years in, looks like, and, um, but you're strong, and I'm so glad you have a lot of support out there, and you have really,
yep.
helped the community in so much with all the resources that are out there. So, and I know you know those, all the you know it all
Yeah,
inside out.
it's really. I mean, the word alienator, alienated. Yeah, it fits the profile perfectly.
But,
But
we we know the playbook. He's in it. He's still in the middle of that book, and he is so textbook MLC, and at least you have that to count on, and, you know yeah, well, we'll have to meet again and see how the progress is. But thank you so much for joining us today, and I agree. I think that tip that you have of when your spouse is in it and you've got the bomb drop, just let them go. Don't tell them they're in midlife crisis. Don't suggest it, and, don't beg. Just, let them go, and because there's nothing you can do. It's they have literally been taken over, you know? Yeah, it really does. Well, oh, thank you, Karen. Thank you so much. Thanks, Karen. Hey, some resources that are available for you guys are thewifeexpert.com. That's Lori McDermott over there at thewifeexpert.com. She also has a new app out. There's tons of videos that can give you all kinds of information on no matter where you are on your MLC journey or trying to reconcile with your spouse. So check out thewifeexpert.com. And if you're not sure if your spouse or yourself is in maybe approaching or in a midlife crisis, be sure to check out Kenda Root's quiz at midlifecrisismarriageadvocate.com. Again, that's a midlifecrisismarriageadvocate.com. That's a quick little 2-minute quiz. It's free. So check that out as well. We have a ton of resources out there for you guys. So check them out. Thanks. You guys, forward moving spouses, you are not alone. Left behind spouses, you are not alone. Those in crisis, you are certainly not alone. This is just crazy how epidemic this has become. I have a waiting list now of people from around the world that I'm trying to get to. And if you've been through a midlife crisis or been impacted by someone else's, and you want to share your story, I'd love to hear from you. Hang in there, you guys. I will get to all of you. Please reach out to me at mlcbombdrop@gmail.com and visit us on Facebook and Instagram, MLC Bomb Drop. And just remember, your voice matters. Your story could be the one that helps someone else feel seen. It could help someone else feel heard. And it will help somebody else feel understood. You are not alone, no matter where you are in your journey. If the bomb was just dropped, the earthquake just happened, if you are 7 or 8 years in and you're coming out of starting to wake up and awaken to this, um, you are not alone. It's sad that this is epidemic, but we're here to provide support. So until next time, take care and live authentically each and every day. Thanks again, you guys.